This is your Daily 5 for Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. For the penultimate, not a word I get to use often enough, the penultimate film for Milla March, we watched 2011's Faces in the Crowd, which I suppose you would call it a thriller. So another thriller, different than Survivor in that was more of a terrorist thriller. This is a serial killer thriller, or I guess a murder mystery thriller to some degree. A movie that, in many ways, feels similar, although not nearly as severely insulting, to our review of A Perfect Getaway, in that it has a very interesting and often well-executed concept that is then let down by everything around it. Now, again, I want to stress, this movie is nowhere near as bad as A Perfect Getaway was, where when that movie reveals its secret, it immediately plunges off a cliff. Faces in the Crowd is watchable. It absolutely is watchable. And in fact, I would actually, and we'll see what Lando's opinion on this is in the Friday show, because we don't talk much about these movies after we watch them. We really don't. We save it for the show. So I don't know if he'll agree with this. I would actually recommend this movie for two main reasons. One, I think Milla's very good in it, legitimately very good in it in terms of acting, something that she often gets. People will often criticize that she's not a very good actress, which I disagree with because I've seen her in several movies where she is a good actress. I'm not going to say she's Meryl Streep or anything like that, but she is not a bad actress. And the movie, so I would say one, is to see Milla actually acting and being given the chance to act as opposed to just being, as in Resident Evil, an action star, which don't get me wrong, I enjoy, but she didn't have to do very much in terms of acting in any of those films, let's be honest. So that would be one reason. And the other is the core concept is done very well. The gimmick of the film, which is not really a spoiler because it happens very early on. Milla plays a woman who suffers a head injury. And I don't remember the term. It's a real thing. And the head injury results in the fact that she cannot recognize face. She has face blindness. There's a technical or clinical term for it, but the more common term is face blindness. And so she has face blindness. And that becomes a factor in the serial killer mystery of the film. That's not giving anything away because the trailer shows you all that. And that concept and what it would actually be like to be somebody afflicted with this is very good. That is actually, again, the other main reason to watch it. Unfortunately, all of the writing around that concept gets pretty dumb. There's a lot of things that happen that you kind of shake your head at because they're either highly convenient or involve people making really boneheaded decisions. And also there's a couple of cases where things seem to jump from step 1 to step 10 really quickly and really don't make a lot of organic sense. So I can't say the movie is necessarily good. I don't think it's bad. And I would say that again, the two things, Milla and the gimmick, make the movie worth watching. And this would actually, and again, we'll see what Lando says, this would be a perfect movie for a remake, for somebody who handles everything around the gimmick better. And I think in the commentary, my pick for somebody who would make this, unfortunately, can't, which would be Brian De Palma, the director of The Silence of the Lambs. I think that based on the way that movie was handled, I think if we had a better director, because this is a writer-director combo in this movie, and I feel like this individual was so caught up in the gimmick and executing, again, that gimmick really well that the attention necessary to everything around the gimmick fell away. And so maybe only handling one side or the other of the writing-directing duties would allow for a better film to be made. And unfortunately, we just don't get it here. And it's a shame because just what you see of the gimmick being used, the face blindness being used in this movie, tells you it is a concept that would work well, where you would really start to feel what the terror of being in this person's circumstances where they can't recognize any faces, including her own. It is a wonderful concept for a movie like this. And that part of it works really well. And Milla works well in the role. Unfortunately, it's everything around it that is weak. So Faces in the Crowd, I would actually recommend it. But just be aware that outside of Milla and the core concept, the rest of the movie is weak, but still one I think is worth seeing. Later.